You've stepped into a protected space for Black women founders to think, build, and breathe. A dedicated space for those of us carrying brilliance and the challenges that come with it. Here, we honor your time, your growth, and your unique journey. So if you're navigating to year 5 and beyond, hey sis, you're in the right place. These conversations offer insight, relief, and honest perspective. I'm Lynette Cottrell, and this is the Empower Her Business podcast, where we talk mindset, money, and thriving. Let's get right into another great episode. Hello, everyone. So happy to see you guys back here today. Welcome, sisters, back to the Empower Her Business podcast, the space where we blend money, mindset, wellness, and CEO leadership, helping Black women build businesses that thrive beyond those critical first 5 years. I'm your host, Lynette Cottrell, and today's conversation is one you are absolutely going to feel in your spirit, especially if you're a woman entrepreneur who is a mother or dreaming of motherhood while building your legacy. Today, we have with us Dara Cook, a powerhouse creative who spent years at MTV shaping culture. She served as head creative for the MTV VMAs, brand manager for Nick Cannon's Wild 'N Out, and senior vice president of business development. So when we talk about brilliance, creativity, and strategy, she brings all that and much more. This episode is transformational, whether you're a mom planning to be, supporting moms, or simply honoring the journey of building a business that impacts real lives. This conversation has something for you. So take a breath, settle in, and let's welcome our guest today. Hello, hello.
Hello. So great to be with you today.
Wonderful, wonderful. So we're going to jump right in. So you were at the top of the media world with MTV, VMAs, and Wild 'N Out. Global creative leadership. What inner knowing was it that told you that it's time to build something more purpose-driven?
I love that as a first question. Well, the inner knowing that inspired me to build something purpose-driven was me waking up in the middle of the night and asking myself this question: am I using my superpowers for good? And this was a nagging question that just got louder and louder until I couldn't ignore it anymore. And I loved working at MTV. It was truly a dream job. I think of it as dream jobs, really, more than one, because I was so fortunate to be able to do so many different things over the years.
Yeah.
And at the same time, I started to question whether I was taking everything that I had learned there and whether I was using it in a way that I could change people's lives in a positive way. And I had learned so much about creating content. And I always joke, when I started MTV, all I knew about television was how to turn it on, right? I didn't know anything else. But I learned how to create content. I was so fortunate to learn how to create it under pressure. I was a producer and writer on TRL, the TRL hosted by Carson Daly, and was really put through the ringer, so to speak, of the production world, and got a chance to learn how to be a CEO under my boss, Chris McCarthy, who is the president of MTV, and then went on to become the co-CEO of the entire parent company, Paramount, the conglomerate that it is. And I realized at that point I had graduated, so to speak, from that experience, and I think that's something that your listeners, your viewers might relate to, is this idea of, it's almost like if you're in school and you stay in school forever, at some point, you do have to graduate. It doesn't make sense for you to move on. And I felt that I had learned so much about production, learned so much about dealing with talent, building businesses on the business development side. It was time for me to take on a newer challenge, and that was
Mm,
it.
I love that. I love that. So what you just described was a journey of understanding that you started on the ground floor. You graduated up learning more skills, sharpening more skills, working under pressure. But I think a big difference in what you just explained in your journey is that you realized, you were aware of that graduation process. And not only that, you were willing to get out of your comfort zone. Because a lot of times when we're graduating through levels like that, we can just feel so comfortable being in that space. Like, I know how to do everything here, right? And that feels good. So let me just stay here and keep doing everything here. But you had a different realization. Your feeling was, okay, I've learned so much here. Now it's time to go do something else somewhere else. And come, that doesn't flow so naturally for most of us. Usually, what happens is something pushes us out of the nest versus
Mhm.
us realizing, okay, it's time to step out and fly. So I love that you had that natural realization that, okay, I got some superpowers here, and how do I really want to use them?
Yes.
That's very insightful. I love that. Love that. So let's talk about going from a employee mindset to an entrepreneur mindset. I find there's a lot of nuances that we're not aware of till we actually step into that seat. So is there anything that sticks out for you that you realize that, okay, I have to think differently about this now that I'm building my own business?
Right, absolutely. Well, one of the first things that hits you when you move from employee to CEO of your own company is that you have to do everything. And so there's this
Mm,
old clip of Steve Jobs that has gone viral recently in the entrepreneurial world. And he talks about, it's a little quaint, some of what he's talking about. He's talking about building a business many decades ago. And he's like, everything falls under you, the coffee. And then you think about, he's really talking about setting up a true physical office. And
mm,
when you're an employee, you have a defined role,
yes.
right? And it's only really when you get to be maybe the CEO, and still the CEO, the CEO is answering to a board, right? But the vast majority of employees, you have a specific function that you're performing, and you don't have to deal with things like uh, taxes and corporate
Mm,
taxes and payroll unless it's actually your job, right?
yeah.
And there is nothing that is not under your purview when you started your own company. And so that's the responsibility. On the flip side, the thing that I love the most is that if I have an idea to do something, we can just execute it. There's
Mm,
no internal interference. There's no selling it up the ladder and hoping someone will
right.
buy into your vision. And that's the beauty and the agility of having a smaller operation where it's my co-founder and I and we discuss, and it's good because we have there's creative friction there too, and that's
Yeah.
helpful in terms of making sure the best ideas surface, and that our plans are vetted between each other.
Uh-huh.
And if there's something we want to try, we can just try it. We can just put it up. And so that's the positive side of moving from an employee. Very rarely, as an employee, even at the highest levels, can you have an idea and just execute it, right? There, you
Right,
still need to
right.
get buy-in, okay? You need to get a budget and all of that and get an okay for the budget. Well, you can just say, look, we're going to try it and do it. So that's the beauty of it.
Love it, love it. So let's talk a little bit more about your origin and share with the audience the passion and motivation behind you creating this really special company, Expect Fit. So share with the audience what Expect Fit is and the experience that really turned on the light bulb that it was really a needed business.
Yes, yes, thank you. So what I saw was two things. It was the problem, and then I saw the purpose, the problem and the purpose and the promise. So the
Uh-huh.
the problem I was seeing in gyms, and I mean an array of gyms. So I was going to everything from the local community center gym to the YMCA to Equinox, which is really expensive. It could be
Uh-huh.
up to $300 a month.
Mm-hmm.
And I was seeing pregnant women struggling to work out in these gyms.
Mm.
And they were being underserved in group fitness classes, given ad hoc modifications. An instructor would say, "Oh, no, you in the third trimester, you shouldn't do that. That's not safe for you. Do something else."
Mm-hmm.
I was also hearing and reading reports of our high and rising maternal mortality rate in America, and
Yeah.
how even the best minds in healthcare couldn't seem to get a grip on changing the tide.
Right.
So that was the problem. And then I saw the purpose and the promise. My sister had her first child over a certain age,
Uh-huh.
and her OB-GYN, who becomes an important part of our journey, Dr. Rachel Villanueva, rightfully advised her to exercise to reduce her risk factors. And
Mm.
that is because the American College of OB-GYNs, which sets all policy for OB-GYNs in America, had, based on years and years of research showing the positive benefits of maternal fitness, that means working out in pregnancy and postnatal, on reducing complications, everything from premature birth to postpartum depression.
Mm.
At that point, the American College of OB-GYNs had issued an edict, an official committee opinion saying if you're pregnant, we highly recommend that you exercise if your doctor clears you to do so. So my sister's physician, who's a fellow of the American College of OB-GYNs, recommended that she exercise in pregnancy, and my sister did exercise. And she had such a smooth pregnancy and delivery, and I was there for delivery that was so fast. The OB-GYN was only in the room for 15 minutes. And so
Mm.
that defied my expectations, pun intended, of what a labor, a first time labor for a woman who is over a certain age, considered
Mhm.
advanced maternal age. And the OB-GYN who delivered my niece looked back at my sister as she walked out, and she said, "Did you exercise?" And my sister said yes. And the physician said, "I've noticed that women who exercise have labors like this." And that's when everything came together. Me
Ah.
seeing the pregnant women in the gym struggling to work out with being underserved,
Uh-huh.
me seeing these reports about our high and rising maternal mortality rate and trying to figure out what can we do around it. Me being so excited that my sister was pregnant, but also being a little worried, given her
Right.
age and
Right.
the high risk factors that we were all hearing about in the media, and then seeing her defy expectations through fitness. I realized there was an opportunity for me to help other women reap the benefits of maternal fitness.
Mm.
And
Wonderful.
that's what led me to start Expect.
Okay, wonderful. I can really feel that. How you were inspired by your personal experience of seeing the success your sister had, right? During a pregnancy where you would was worried about what the results would be, but hearing that, okay, these results were so smooth and easy because she worked out, right? And then connecting the dots between seeing women struggle in gyms, trying to find the right workout to get fit, and saying, okay, I have a solution to this, and I want other people going through this process to feel this relief I just felt, right? Where it was so successful. So that's beautiful. That's beautiful. So, from the time where you said, I can provide a solution to this for women going through this process, to the time your business actually launched, what was that period like for you? What were you working out in that process? Did you just jump right in and start it real quickly? Was it a gradual process based on research, or tell us how that process transpired?
Yes, it was gradual based on research. So Expect is grounded in science first. So even though it's called Expect Fitness, it should really be called something like Expect Healthcare or Expect Medical, because we approached it more from a medical standpoint. One of the first things I did, I was at Harvard Business School and I had this idea, and I reached out to some folks on the other side of the river, and the dean of the Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health, Michelle A. Williams. And I had read the research that she had co-authored on the impact of pre and postnatal fitness on some major complications. And she recommended I speak with Dr. Ayman Lee, who did a lot of that research with her, who is a professor at Harvard Medical School. And I asked her, I said, I have this idea to have a digital platform where women can find pre and postnatal exercise that has been vetted by OB-GYN, so they feel safe to perform these exercises. And I just want to know if this is even a worthwhile endeavor, right? Is there any there? And she said, wow, it's actually great that someone is finally putting the science to use, right? And she said, I want you to talk to the head of the American College of Sports Medicine. So I spoke to the head of American College of Sports Medicine, who described all of the changes that happen in the body when you're pregnant that really necessitate some modifications in your exercise routine. So then I realized, yes, there is a space for us, that it's just not the case that if you're pregnant, you will feel comfortable just doing exactly what you did pre-pregnancy, right? There is value in creating a new routine. So started there with the research and with really the best minds when it comes to maternal health. I looked at the competitive landscape, right? And so this applies to any other business, right? You want to speak to the people who know the most, and you'd be surprised at who would actually talk to you, right? Exactly. So really speak to the experts, do the competitive research, look to see who is operating in your field and what are the gaps. And we realized that I knew that there weren't any real brick and mortar solutions, right? So across the board for women who are looking to exercise in person, digitally, the solutions were sparse. None of them had the rigor of OB-GYN vetting. And so we realized there was a space to us to really play in. One of the initial hurdles was us developing this advisory of OB-GYNs to vet all the fitness, because one of the things, despite having a tremendous amount of passion and doing a lot of the work in terms of research, et cetera, I was coming from the world of media, not medicine. So I didn't really know any OB-GYNs, besides my very own, right? So thankfully, it was my sister's OB-GYN, Dr. Rachel Villanueva, who became the first OB-GYN on our advisory. And Dr. Villanueva is a luminary in medicine. She became the president of the National Medical Association, and is really the beacon behind Expect. And it just started. I remember in the beginning, I just used to sit around and just pray to get some OB-GYNs on board. But now we have 17 from top hospital systems, so all around the country, and they span from OB-GYNs who deliver, all of them are practicing OB-GYNs, to maternal fetal medicine doctors, and that's someone you may go to if you have a more complex pregnancy, if you may have gestational diabetes. They have certain things that they look out for, to urogynecologists who are trained in the pelvic floor, right? And so we work with these physicians who share with us their one-on-one experience of advising women to exercise in pregnancy, what their results are, and they review every exercise that's in the Expect app. And if there's something they don't like, we get rid of it.
That's wonderful. So there's a lot of research that went into what you present as a solution for staying fit during pregnancy for women. So, and it's backed by specialists in the field. So,
Right.
yeah, that's very reliable. So, as you stated, research clearly shows that exercising during pregnancy reduces complications drastically. Why do you think that it's still, this life-changing information still isn't reaching enough women, especially Black women?
Right. I think the reason that this life changing information isn't reaching enough women, especially Black women, is that we're coming up against many years of misinformation when it comes to physical activity and women in general. So, one of
Mm.
my favorite books is by the New York Times writer Danielle Friedman. It's called Let's Get Physical, and it's about the history of women and exercise. And she recounts, it's really, we think this is absurd, but this happened not that long ago, that women were not allowed to run marathons in America because it was believed that if a woman ran more than 2 miles, her uterus would fall out.
Stop it.
Yes. And yes.
What?
So the gender barrier was not broken and officially until the 1970s in America.
Oh,
Okay.
wow.
It wasn't until the 1970s that women were officially allowed to sign up and register as women to run marathons. So that's not that long ago.
It's
Okay.
not that long
I
ago.
was born in the 70s. Okay. That's not that long ago. So when you come through this perspective of we didn't even believe that a woman could run a marathon without her uterus falling out. It, Fast forward to the 80s, I remember reading, when I was doing research, reading an article from the New York Times, interviewing a physician who said, look, this was around the time of the fitness craze started hitting in America, but Jane
Uh-huh.
Fonda workout was big,
Yes, all the
etc.
aerobics
Ex-
workouts and classes and
Right, with the leg warmers, all of that, right?
yes.
It was the and jazzercise and all that, and this physician said, if you're pregnant and you're so compelled to exercise, don't do it for more than 15 minutes. This was in the 80s in the New York Times. So this is our history. This is where we're coming from. That's wrong. Okay,
Hmm.
so we know now, obviously, that women can run marathons and they won't suffer prolapse in that way.
Yeah.
Um, and and we know now the guidance from all the leading health institutions is that if you're pregnant, you should be exercising at least 150 minutes a week. So
Mm.
we've come a long way, baby,
Yes.
pun intended. And even just to give you another example of how far off sometimes public health guidance can be, there was a point before the big Surgeon General report that came out in the 1960s, warning against the dangers of smoking. There was a point when physicians would recommend to pregnant women, you should smoke cigarettes
No.
because it'll calm your nerves.
Oh my
Yes.
goodness.
I mean, this is where we're coming from, right? So we have
Right.
this history of, but science is just like anything else. And you know better, you do better, right? And so
Right,
we
right.
learn and we do studies and we figure things out. And it's also incongruous with the way that we've been living. The modern society has afforded people the ability to be sedentary in pregnancy, but that wasn't the case. How do you think we got here?
Mm.
Thousands and thousands of years when it wasn't an option for a woman to be pregnant and just be on bed rest. So we're at this place now. So that's part of the reason why that message hasn't proliferated. But every year we are seeing a higher and higher percentage of women working out in pregnancy. And that is because really the science is so clear and unequivocal about this. Speaking about marathons, pregnancy has a similar impact on the body as running a marathon. And so when you think
Mm.
about it in that way, you would not train for a marathon. You would not run a marathon without training for it, right? You would
Right.
not do that.
You
You
want to
would
be
understand.
sedentary and then go run a marathon.
Exactly. And then what
Mm.
if someone said, okay, actually, you're just going to relax for 9 months. You're going to be on bed rest and then you're going to run a marathon. And actually, the stakes of this marathon uh, are your life and the life of your child. Go.
Mm, right.
That's what we've been expecting women to do. And it's unfair. It's been unfair. It's been unfair to women, and we're here to fill that gap and to acknowledge the athletic event that pregnancy, labor, and recovery, the athletic event that it truly is, and to help women prepare for it and train for it better than anyone else. And so it's really, even just to zoom out in terms of anyone who's thinking about starting a business, it's really about, is there a need, and how crucial is that need, right? This idea
Mm,
of the proverbial painkiller. A painkiller will sell more than a vitamin, or there'll be more interest around a painkiller, right? People,
right.
this is a major pain. It's our existential pain, which is
Hmm.
that it's too dangerous to bring a life into this world right now, right?
Right.
Especially in America. And is there a simple solution that can make it easier, make it healthier, make it cheaper,
Hmm.
to have a child, and not end up with some sort of debilitating complication like gestational diabetes, hypertension, stroke, hemorrhage, etc. All these things that
Right.
can come with a complicated pregnancy.
Got it. And this even helps also with postpartum, the postpartum experience too. Right.
Correct. Postpartum depression. There's
Hmm.
been so much research. We're actually working with Penn Medicine. They're, they have the Penn Center for Women's Behavioral Wellness, uh, which is really a collaboration between the psychiatric department and the OB-GYN department about studying the impact of expect on postpartum depression.
Ah,
Yes, and one of the, this is also coming out in the research, right? And so this is not just for pregnant people, this is for everyone. The research is now showing that exercise has the same or better impact on severe depression as medicine and talk therapy.
oh, wow.
Yes. So when you think about it that way, you realize that, that if you can fit exercise into your schedule, it is so effective, in terms of uh, mental wellness,
Right. I
right?
love that. I love that
Yeah.
information. So that's a very valuable gem, especially because I am very a great advocate of building holistically, building holistic businesses, taking care of our well-being. So just knowing that when you talk about depression, when you talk about your mental state of mental wellness, and we're saying just incorporating exercise into your daily process can help you heal those areas and elevate those areas, and that costs you nothing but to dedicate the time. That's great information to share. So thank you for that. I also love that you're building a database of information based on expect fit your results. You're building a database on your results. Very helpful information.
Pause with me for a second. I just want to thank you for being here. And if this hits home, tap 5 stars, leave a quick comment, and send this to a sister who needs it. You help more women find this space when you share. All right, back to the conversation.
So let's talk about the process of entrepreneurship and building a business. So when you first started your business, what was your process for funding your business? Because a lot of us, when we're getting started, depending on the type of business we're starting, it requires a different type of funding, a different amount of funding. So for your building your medical-based business, what type of funding did you utilize and how did you utilize it?
Yes, absolutely. So our funding came from four buckets: grant funding, angels, institutions, and bootstrapping, which meant me. So,
Okay.
um, actually, one of the positive sides, so Expect is what you would call a social enterprise, right? So,
Okay.
um, which really means that in success, the world will be a better place because we exist. Now,
Mm.
there are some enterprises out there that you can argue are not contributing to the advancement of society in any way,
Right.
right? And
Right.
so one of the and I'm also a visiting entrepreneur at Stanford Graduate School of Business's
Mm-hmm.
Center for Social Innovation, where I help advise these brilliant students at Stanford as they start their own social enterprises. And what's wonderful about the social enterprise is that I believe that it can be easier to attract capital and to attract a variety of capital to a
Okay.
social enterprise because there's this other element to it,
Mm.
that it provides. It doesn't just provide value to shareholders. It provides value to stakeholders. It provides value to society at large. And as
Mm.
much as we think that money is only interested in chasing returns, it's not true, right? I
Mm.
mean, if that's the case, philanthropy would not exist. So
Mm.
we got grants very early on, and I think the grants were also a way for us to validate, did this even make sense for us to keep going? So that's one of the things in terms of when you're thinking about starting a company, you can iterate and test your assumptions, right? And so,
Mm-hmm.
like I said, one of the things I did early on, speak to experts in the field. Does it make sense for us to even do this, right? Are there other solutions in the market that are already doing what we're doing, so we don't need to create something else? And another thing that we did is that we entered into grant competitions to see, could we pass muster, right? Just in
Ah.
fair contest, could we pass muster? And we were able to get grant funding from Wharton, Harvard Business School very early on in that way. Tiger Global, which is people in the finance world, they know what Global is. We were able to get grant funding from Tiger Global very early on. So that was an indication. All right, if Wharton and Harvard and Tiger Global, if they think there's something here, there's something here. Let's keep going. Next were angels, who really deserve that title because they are angels through and through. So these
Mm.
angels are individuals who are accredited investors, and there is specific criteria for what an accredited investor is.
Mm-hmm.
And angels, they are on the ground floor, and they're investing in you. So angels, they have been friends of mine, classmates that I've known
Mm-hmm.
for a long time, and who really believed in our vision and believed in me. And that's one of the things I tell people is, and especially young people, because they can really take full advantage of this advice, is that everything you do is an audition. So
Mm.
be excellent in all aspects of your life. So when you're in the classroom, you never know who will become partnered with you in some future endeavor. And
Mm.
how do you show up in whether you could be in school right now and you may just be blowing it off. It's like, no, these people in your class right now, they could be future investors or not,
Right.
depending on how they perceive you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, so all of that is important. Next, institutions. So we were part of TechStars Healthcare. TechStars is one of the leading one of the leading incubators, accelerators of startups, really globally. And they have a TechStars Healthcare accelerator that we had our eyes on. I mean, dead set on. And the acceptance rate, it's worse than any school. So it's like worse than
Wow.
Harvard. It's worse than Stanford. It's like it's under 3% acceptance rate.
Ah.
So over 500 companies applied, 12 got in, but we were dead set on it, and we got in, and so Techstars invested, also VC, the Laerdal Million Lives Fund. It's a European-based VC firm that is deeply concerned with the high rate of maternal mortality in America, right? And then my own money. So another big indicator of whether or not you should go into business is, or do you believe in it enough to put your own money into this? And if you don't do it. So it is a motivator like none other when you have skin in the game, right? And we just know this in general, right? We know that when you have your own skin in the game, you're more responsible, all of these things, right? So those are the big buckets of funding, and that's how we approached it. And even in that order, really, the grant came first. Then the angels, and the bootstrapping was always there. So I was bootstrapping, of course, from the very beginning, right? Because it's me, So bootstrapping came first, then and that's always the underpinning. And then there's grant funding, then there's angels and institutions. So it really, and that tends to be the order. Now, a lot of people don't have grant funding as a pathway, right? Like, let's say if I was starting a dating app, right? I don't know who wants to give anyone a grant for that. That might be a little harder. But some people, they depending on what line you're in, that may disappear. Yes.
Right. So when we talk about grant funding, you said that was like outside of bootstrapping, that was like the first bucket. What was your primary resource for looking for grants? Because there are so many resources out there. Sometimes it can be overwhelming, like where do I start and how do I start? So what did you find was your greatest resource in finding grants?
Greatest resource in the beginning was the universities. So universities are places of yes. So just in general, when I think about, I think institutions have souls, and the soul can align in a continuum of like yes to no, right? So VCs, for example, they're no, like they're places of no, generally speaking. Universities are places of yes, even for people who are not even at the university. And I think it's the spirit of what the university is there to do, right? The university, and I'm talking about the university at large, is there to cultivate young people, to advance research and the arts. And I just remember even me being in college, and you might have an idea for an independent study, and they'd be like, "Yeah, sure, go for it." Right? I mean, this is how universities are, right? They're places of yes. So, universities in general are fantastic places to explore grant competitions, business innovation competitions, etc. And what it was that Wharton was offering an executive ed class, and anyone could sign up for this, right? I mean, there may be some criteria, I don't know, but it's an executive ed class that was being offered online, and it was about entrepreneurship, and it culminated in a competition. Right? A grant competition for your startup. And I signed up for this class because I needed structure, right? I needed someone to force me, because this is another thing. So there might be a lot of people who are listening who have ideas for business, but you're working a day job and you're taking care of your kids. And it's like, how do I even fit this into my life, right? How am I even just going to get a plan out?
Yeah.
So I knew the realities of my life, that I had a huge job, and I wasn't even working full time. I was working all time. I felt like people like, you feel like you're working all the time, right? Like
Yes,
it's not just 9 to 5, it's, 5 to 9 and weekends too.
yes,
And I needed a structure where every week I had to submit homework that had something to do with this business, right? So I
right.
had to do all the elements to it, and at the end, there was a pitch competition for your idea, and I said, and I wanted to put it to the test. I'm like, look, but the class was I think $2,000, and the grant funding was more than that, and I was like, I'm going to make that money back. That was my thing. I was like, I'm
Mm.
going to do this. I'm going to make that money back. And I did. And so we won grant funding, but I worked my face off.
Uh-huh.
Okay. So that's the other thing. Like, I don't think people, they see, there was a grant, we won grant funding from another competition last year, MedTech Color, which part of that money came from um, NIH seed and Johnson & Johnson MedTech, but I rehearsed so much for that I lost my voice. So the minute that thing was over, it was like my voice took it was like it held on for the pitch, and after that it was
Right.
because I was just pitching.
Oh,
I mean, every time I got in the shower, I was pitching. I was pitching all day. I was pitching in the Uber on the way to the place. Pitching. I
ah,
pitched so much. I still know the whole thing by heart. It's a lot of work, but
yeah.
that's what it takes, right? That's what it takes. Um, so that's how. So I would look at universities. If you're,
Hmm.
I would look at local universities to you. Look at their entrepreneurial pitch competitions. I would get on any listserv that you can related to the industry that you're thinking of starting your business in. And these grant competitions are good because they're early on. So you can even just have the concept.
Love
By
that.
the time you get to, by the time you get to institutions, really institutions, that you need to have something.
Mm.
Right. You need it. So as much as people say, "Oh, I'm an early stage," I mean, early stage is like you have 1 million plus in revenue. That's what that means, at least,
Mm.
right? That's not early stage is not. I have an idea. Okay.
Right,
So
right.
it's some of these early grant competitions, etc. And just read. Tell people what you're doing. Right.
Mm.
You'd be surprised at who has some information that could be helpful to you.
Got it.
And so that's what we did. It was the universities. The universities. Wharton had this pitch competition. Harvard had a pitch competition, and we did it. Uh, and we won funding. And Tiger Global. There's this great platform called Hello Alice.
Uh-huh.
So I would say go to Hello Alice. It is they're particularly they're really about empowering women entrepreneurs. They have a
Uh-huh.
ton of funding opportunities and non-dilutive grant funding opportunities on there. So
Mm.
if you're not on that, get on Hello Alice, helloalice.com. Just get on their mailing list. That's how we got the Tiger Global grant.
Okay.
That was through Hello Alice. So do it.
Mm. Yes. I love that. You dropped a couple of gems there. One of the things I love you dropped was that you took the course because you know you needed structure to basically guide you through the process of get this all together. Because in your work
Absolutely.
schedule, it was not easily possible to carve out, okay, what do I need to do and what do I need to do next? But with a structured program that guided you through what you need to do, and you knew you were going to get it done because you wanted to win back that tuition you paid, right? So that gave you the structure. So one thing is key is knowing who we are, right?
Mhm.
What are my strengths and weaknesses, and what do I need help with? So for yours, it was like, okay, this structure will help me get it done, and
Absolutely.
me having paid for it's going to help me get it done because I've now invested in it, right?
Hmm.
So that helped you walk through the process to get everything organized and then to pitch. And you also talked about how hard you were pitching, how hard you were practicing, how you had to
Yeah.
get it down, how you lost your voice in the process. But that means that by the end of this process, you clearly understood everything you wanted to get done, right? You had the answers to the questions because you had looked at it upside down and back and forth, and you intimately knew what your business was about, and you had
Yes.
structure for it. So that is wonderful. And I love you share the university option because I had never heard that before. So that's a great resource for our listeners to now be aware of. Tap
Yes.
into these universities. And Hello Alice, I had heard about, but again, a great reminder for everyone to check that out. Hello Alice, wonderful. So, building a business, sometimes, especially as Black women, we do it out of sheer willpower. And you talked about having a structure. A lot of times we don't do it out of structure. We just do it out of, I want to build this, and we're kind of growing our wings as we are falling down, right? We just jump out the window. I'm going to put this together. At some point, and one of the things I am very keen on with my advisory firm is helping women build soul aligned systems. So build your business so it runs in a way that aligns with your soul, so you're not all over the place and overwhelmed and burnt out.
Right.
So how do you, in the structure of your business, how do you infuse soul alignment or systems that work with you and for you?
Right. Well, I think the number one way that I'm soul aligned is that I am completely on board with the mission of the company. And I think that's the most important thing. I think if I were maybe in a different, doing something different, I would feel, I think burnout isn't just about physical burnout. I think you can also have spiritual burnout. And when you are when you're not aligned with the work that you're doing a lot of work in a field or at a company that you don't believe in. There's something about it
Mm,
that you don't that doesn't sit well with your soul, and that can burn you out.
mm.
So you will find it's almost like it's kind of a funny analogy. You know how it is when you're like you've eaten food, you're full, and then like dessert comes out, and for some reason you find the extra pocket, and it's like it's like you know what I mean? Because it's like dessert is so good. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
that person who likes dessert. Um, I feel that way about being fully aligned with what you're doing from a purpose standpoint, because when you're fully aligned, you find that little extra pocket of capacity,
Ah,
right?
yeah.
Oh yeah, it's like, oh, I've eaten so many of these
Uh-huh.
so many of these crab legs, and I'm thinking about Red Lobster. I'm thinking I've eaten so many of these crab legs and shrimp from the seafood boil. But yeah, now you're bringing out that chocolate, and I can't eat another thing. But you brought
That
out that
chocolate
chocolate
cake.
cake with that ice cream. Weirdly, I can finally my appetite is returned, right? So this is what it is when you are doing something that you firmly, really, truly believe in
Yes.
every molecule of your body, is that you increase your capacity.
Yes.
Right. So I think about it a little bit more like that.
Mhm.
And so even last night I was like, all right, it's time to go to bed. I went to sleep. And then I had this idea, and I was like, oh, now all of a sudden I'm awake. I feel lively again.
Right.
So, and I just got up, got on my computer, and I started doing some stuff. And then I was like, I feel great. Now I'm gonna go back to bed.
Yeah.
So I don't really. That's more of how I think about it. There is something practical that I do though,
Mhm.
and that I encourage people to do. And there's been a lot of just research around this, which is
Mhm.
chunking your days. So what does that mean?
Mm.
Is that um, I have days where I do meetings, and there are days where I don't. So there's this great book called Flow, and it's about being able to focus and work on something for a long period of time,
Uh-huh.
and really having a singular focus so you can achieve this magical state called flow. And I
Uh-huh.
think a lot of us have achieved it when maybe you're writing something and now you just feel like you're sliding through it, right?
Yeah.
You just feel so good. But you really only achieve that when you can focus in uninterrupted time. So what happens when you work for another person, your days, this is something, a phrase that was coined in another book called time confetti, where you just don't even have, you got a meeting here, you got a meeting at
Mm.
11, you got a meeting at 12, you got a meeting at 2, you got a meeting at 4, this is like this every day. So you can't
Yeah.
even get into any kind of flow with anything, and you can't
Mm.
think, and you can't work on anything deeply. So what I would say, practically speaking, is set certain days where you have your meetings and just chunk them, and then you have days where you do deep work, and you focus in that way. And I also find places to work where, we have our office space actually through NYU, which is fantastic, on the Brooklyn campus, and that's through, when I say universities are places of yes, right?
Yeah.
NYU has a fantastic Catalyst program, um, and it is and it and the Empire State Development Corporation in New York, they co-fund that, and they give really fantastic startups office space. But I often find, in terms of deep work, I go to almost more of like a library space to really just, so
Ah,
I'm not in the fluorescent lighting, and
yeah.
no one is talking really, and I'm just,
Yes.
it's like I'm communing very deeply with what I'm doing. So find spaces that work for you, right?
Mm.
And
I
so again,
love
about
that.
structure, it's like sometimes we think that it's just us, right? You're like, no, I need to be stronger. It's like, no, I
Mm.
need to just carve some time out of the confetti of my schedule
Uh-huh.
to work on this. Or I need to find some time in this loud office that I'm in, or in my loud home where my kids are yelling and screaming, to
Uh-huh.
focus. And it's, let's be easy on ourselves, right?
Mm.
Is sometimes we understand in healthcare, we talk a lot about social determinants of health, which is really about how your environment, where you
Mm.
live, shapes everything from, the diseases you may develop to your life expectancy, right? So we
Mm.
know now that where you live can determine how long you live.
Mm.
I don't think we talk enough about social determinants of success, of just social
Ah,
determinants of achievement. And what
right.
are some of the things, how can you align your environment in a way in which you can actually optimize your performance? So,
Yes.
do you need to be in a quiet space? What kind
Mm.
of lighting do you need? I need tea. I need decaffeinated
Yes.
little stuff like
Yes.
that. Even like I mentioned, the Wharton class, I needed a structure. I needed someone to force me every week. Okay, turn that in, turn that in, turn that in,
Yes.
until it becomes a habit, until I've gotten hooked, and now I'm here. So
Mm.
whatever you can do to to structure your life so that it becomes easier for you to accomplish what you need, do
Uh-huh.
it.
I love that. I
Don't
love
just
that
leave it
one.
to willpower.
Yes, yes, that is golden. So understanding, so that takes taking the time to understand yourself enough to know, wow, when I'm doing this, it feels so easy. Or when
Right,
I'm doing this, I feel at peace. Or when
right.
I have this, burn this candle, I just relax and exhale some. And just
Yes,
knowing how to put those things together to trigger or create those moments for you.
right, right.
Beautiful. I love the way you said it. Wonderful. What's your go-to self-care um, activity when you feel overwhelmed or burnt out or just tired and you want to do something for you? What is your go-to?
My go-to really is exercise, and it's the first thing that I do when I get stressed, especially when I have excess energy. I put it into exercise. I always feel better, and I may vary the different types of exercise. Yoga can be more meditative, and
Uh-huh.
I come, especially yoga, first thing in the morning. And when you haven't even looked at your phone and you just get up and you just start doing yoga, it's like I feel like I'm communing with the universe. I get ideas that way. Meditation, I started meditating again recently. And I have found it allows you to elevate over your life. And so it's almost like your life is just a crowded highway, and then
Mhm.
meditation allows you to rise above it and then just kind of float, like someone just gave you a hovercraft, and now you don't have to stick in this traffic, and you can just go, oh, I'm going to
Right.
go over here now. So, so those are the things I do, but it's always been, fitness has been, and it sort of has to be now. It's like, even this morning, I was like, I didn't want to work out today. And I was just like, but you have to, Dara. You have the company, it's called Expect Fitness. You have got to, you got to work out. So,
Beautiful.
so yeah, that's another thing. It's structural now. Now I'm like, God, I committed to the whole thing. I got to keep working out.
Yes, love it, love it. So it's been just beautiful having you here with us today, sharing all this great information with our entrepreneurs that are listening in. So now I want to give you the opportunity, if there's anything that I didn't ask you that's been on your heart or on your mind as we conversated, or something that you want to leave our audience with, now the floor is open to you to share that right now.
Yes. So I wanted to encourage, especially your viewers, listeners who are Black women, to start companies. If this is something you're thinking about doing, to do it, and to not be discouraged by any of the negative statistics, etc., out there
Yes.
about how hard it is to be a Black woman entrepreneur. Remember that what you have on your side is the most important thing. And whenever you see interviews with great entrepreneurs, they always say the same thing, that the most important trait for an entrepreneur to have is resilience. And I think,
Mm.
who is more resilient, right? So, do it. If this is something you're thinking about doing, do it. And I do remember there was a woman I met. It was at a Wharton reunion a long time ago. Abby Greensfelder, and if you've ever seen, I don't know if you've ever seen the TLC show Say Yes to the Dress. You might
Yeah,
have seen,
yeah.
right? So it was
Uh-huh.
a huge show. So, she started the production company that developed that show, right? And
Okay.
so, just me coming from the media background, I know they made a ton of money on that show, because that show was like always on, and
Yeah.
and so, I met her at this reunion, and she said, "I came here for you." And I said, and she's like, not you, because I don't know you, but she's like, I came here for you, to encourage you to start your own company. She said, because it happened to be, it was a Friday afternoon. She was like, it's a
Mhm.
Friday afternoon, and I have 3 kids, and I live in the DC area. And if I was still working, she had worked also in media. I believe she worked at Discovery as an executive before she left to start
Mhm.
her own production company. If I was still at Discovery, I would not be able to be here this afternoon.
Mm.
But the fact that I have my own company, I can do that. And she said, having your own company is your best shot to have it all. And I never
Mm.
forgot that. And when I finally left MTV to start Expect, I emailed her and I said, I never forgot what you told me. And I tell this story forward, and I still thank her every now and then. And so I want to share this with everyone else, is that if you're thinking about, how do I have it all? This is your opportunity to do it. It's
Mm.
your best opportunity to set your own schedule, right? And really, when you set your own schedule, that is when you truly become the master of your life, because your life is nothing but time. Your life is
Mm.
time. That's it. It's
Right.
not, your life is not money. You can run out of money. You can run out of money a million times, but when you
Mm.
run out of time, that's it. So your
That's
life is
it.
time. When you are the master of your time, then you have fully controlled your life.
Mm.
So,
Beautifully said.
yes.
Thank you. So thank you again so much for being with us here today. All the great information you shared with our audience. I'm sure it's going to uplift many, it's going to encourage many, and help them take the next step forward.
Thank you.
Welcome to After the Show. This is our quieter, more intimate space where I ask today's guest 3 thoughtful questions that invite reflection, honesty, and the wisdom that often lives behind the surface. These conversations are for those of you who've chosen to support the podcast and sit a little closer to the table. Thank you for being here, for investing in this work, and for helping us create a space where deeper conversations can unfold. Let's begin.
So the first one is you have shaped some of the most iconic MTV moments. What is a one of the behind the scenes stories from VMAs or Wild 'N Out that makes you laugh or shake your head right now?
Oh, goodness. Yeah, there's so many moments. I think about the moment I wasn't allowed to talk about when I was there, but now I'll talk about it. No, but no. I think about the year that Kanye jumped on the stage with Taylor Swift.
Oh
So I
yeah.
had known Kanye for a long time because I did Kanye's first interviews in life ever, and he to his credit, he every time I see him, he says, "Never forget you did my first interviews," and I did them as a favor to his cousin, Devo Harris, who's now an entrepreneur. He has an amazing company called Adventurer. I can't even call it a startup anymore, but so I was head creative on the Video Music Awards that year, and you don't get to sleep. The days before the show, I was tired, and I remember I was just like, wow, because I'm backstage looking at the live feed of the show, and I was like, yeah, I guess it's finally happened. I've started hallucinating. I'm so sleep deprived. I'm hallucinating because Kanye
Right,
should not be on stage right now.
right.
And then I was just like, but yet he is. So that was a moment. He was kicked out.
Mhm.
I don't know if people know that he was kicked out.
No, I don't.
And then there's some other things about Taylor Swift but I will say that Taylor Swift was such a trooper in terms of she ended up performing later that night, and she got herself together. But that was a moment that
Mm.
I'll never forget. And even just, I mean, this is just a hip hop moment. Oh, wait. I talked about this on Instagram, actually. It's funny. It's because there's this video of Lenny Kravitz that's kind of going viral, and I did comment on this. This is one of my favorite moments.
Uh-huh,
So I was interviewing Lenny Kravitz, right? So he was
uh-huh,
coming in to the MTV studio, and this was like 2003, let's say.
uh-huh.
And he walks in. First of all, I'm already like, Lenny Kravitz is coming in. Okay. So, I was already like, hey, it's Lenny Kravitz. But, I'm always professional. So Lenny Kravitz comes in. He walks into the studio. He walks towards me. Someone is behind him. And the person behind him is Denzel Washington.
Ah,
And
what?
I'm like, what? Like, what? I was like, what is going on? You know what I mean? It's just like it's like an embarrassment of riches. It's like too much fine. It's
Yeah,
like the building was gonna fall down. Like
yes.
I was like, you gotta, it's like you can't have like the president
Yeah,
and
too
vice
much
president on the
energy in the
same
same
plane.
place. Yes.
It's like you can't have these two people together. It's just too much, right? And so I was like, you know what? I literally was like, why? I was appalled. I was just like, why is he here? And 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 Lenny was like, oh, he's my best friend. And I was like, oh, hell no. I'm thinking, how is it that these people are friends?
Right. And
Like
best friends at that.
it doesn't make any sense. Like I was like, they have never heard, they have never heard no. Okay, anywhere they go, anywhere, man or woman. No, oh yeah, yeah. What do you want? What do you want? It's like
Right.
whatever you like, salt and pepper. They got it. What do you like? So that was a great moment to
Mhm.
discover that. And so I guess people are just now realizing, because I think this recent interview of Lenny Kravitz went viral.
Yes.
He talks about how Denzel is like part Denzel. I think he said we pronouncing his name incorrectly, but that Denzel is his best friend. He's part of the family. And I said, I found that out 20 years ago, and I was amused. Okay.
Yes.
That was a great moment in MTV history.
That is a great moment. So, if you weren't doing Expect Fit right now, what passion or career do you think you would be exploring instead?
I would I would be I would be a doctor, I think. There's this theory that you do these shadow careers. It's like
Uh-huh.
you do something, you work adjacent to like the path not taken. And so at MTV, I'm someone that's like, I can't sing, dance, or act, right? So
Gotcha.
those are the three things I cannot do. And so I wanted to be very close to people who could do those things. Now, I could have been a doctor. I just had to make this decision. I remember in college, I had applied to some colleges as biochem major, and then I applied to Wharton. And I just said, I'm going to go do business. But there was always this idea of like, what if I had gone into medicine? So I think that's why I do this, because I get to work very closely with doctors. So I sort of feel like I'm in the crew. You know what I mean?
Right.
I'm a
You're feeling
plus
the
one.
energy of it. Yeah.
Right, I'm a plus one in the medical world, so I like it. So I think I was even thinking about that the other day. I was like, what if I just go in there and get a little degree in medicine, which is like, kind of absurd at this point. But yes, that's what it would be.
Wonderful. I can see that you are aligned with that. What do you see for Expect Fit in the next 3 to 5 years? What are your dreams for it?
Yeah, so our dreams for Expect is to become the number one maternal fitness brand. So even beyond us is that when we think about pregnancy and the hallmarks of a healthy pregnancy, that fitness takes its rightful place with eating well, not drinking, not smoking, right? And once the science truly proliferates, and it does take a while for public health messages to truly disseminate, right? I still remember it when I was a kid in the early 80s, seeing every now and then you'd see a pregnant woman smoking, right? Even though the Surgeon General report had come out in the 60s saying smoking was dangerous. But it took about 20 years for people to really, at least to stop smoking in pregnancy. Now, I'm not saying that people are not doing it, but you don't see it, right? You don't see this anymore the way it used to be public.
Media,
right? You used to see it happen. So that we will see people understand that pregnancy is a marathon. It's a athletic event. It requires training, and that when people train for this maternal marathon, that they go to us first. And we have done more work, we believe, than anyone else in terms of aligning with science, aligning with the experts in this. We're approaching it from medicine first, versus fitness first, so that we can have the best results and really have women feel safe in what their regimens are. So that's our goal.
Wonderful, beautiful.
And that we save lives, that we can say, we've averted people who use Expect. They have, X% lower risk of avoidable C-sections and gestational diabetes and postpartum depression and death. I mean, that's it, that we can actually say we have saved lives. And then we see these babies and they come up and they're working, and there's more to come with the babies that's coming. But that and the babies are healthier. Look at how beautiful they are. So that's the goal.
Got it. So building those real time statistics that are now like your report card.
Yes.
That's why we say this works. Here's your proof.
Absolutely.
So get on board.
Yes.
Sounds wonderful, beautiful. Thank you.
This episode is brought to you by Empower Her Merch, thoughtfully designed pieces created to support women in business, from journals and mugs to t-shirts and everyday reminders. Each item is rooted in clarity, intention, and care. They make meaningful gifts for the woman entrepreneur in your life, or a beautiful way to honor yourself. You can explore the collection at your pace and carry this support with you wherever you work and create. Visit empowerherbusiness.us and shop today. You've been listening to the Empower Her Business podcast. And before you go, I want to thank you for being here. If this episode supported you, please pay it forward. You can do that by hitting the follow button, rating us 5 stars, leaving a comment, and sharing us with others. This is how we ensure the podcast reaches more sisters in business. Until next time, I wish you the very best of joy, health, and wealth. Be well.